Hello everybody, my name is Swizzle and welcome back to another Minecraft related video. Today, as you can see here, I have a little bit of a tier list and I am going to be ranking every single Minecraft biome. Every single one of them. All 64 as of Minecraft 1.20.2. If you like this video, be sure to like it and subscribe, and I do not want to waste any time, so let's get right into it. Badlands. Badlands, or Mesa as they should be called, but one of the few things that is better about Bedrock is the name, because Badlands is a frickin' American park. But Badlands, aka Mesa. I'm gonna be judging all these based on not only how they look, but how good they are for a base. And for the ocean one, I'm going to assume that I'm above water. Why is there a troll face on deep warm ocean? But anyways, yes, I'm going to be judging them based off not only their actual quality in terms of how they look, but also how decent it is to build a base there. And first we're going to go ahead and start with Badlands, because Badlands are weird because they're, they look pretty cool. However, they're, as far as I'm aware, unless you use the materials you get within them, which can look good, but does require a little bit of griefing the terrain, there's not a ton of things that really go super well in a Badlands in terms of block palettes and whatnot, but it's not impossible to find things that look good in there. It's not like certain other biomes that we'll come across later. It's pretty open, which is very nice, and we've got these cool hills, which is obviously something I really like. In terms of building a base, as long as you have materials, because there's no trees, which is an immediate reduction in points. Spoiler alert for some other biomes. But I'd say Badlands is a pretty decent base location, and it can look very pretty. However, there are some fatal flaws in the form of not having enough trees, not having enough of all sorts of other things, and just block palette problems. I'm going to go ahead and say it's a B tier. Alright, next up is Bamboo Jungle, and if you know, because on one hand I've made several very important to me Minecraft bases in jungle biomes over the course of me playing this game, but on the other hand, have you ever chopped down so many pieces of bamboo and jungle trees just to make way for a base? Like, the only way that it works is a treehouse, which I have admittedly done way too many times, including on my first ever Minecraft YouTube series, which didn't last very long, but that was not under my control. I would say it's very pretty. It's got some fantastic resources, especially in 1.20. If this was 1.19 or before, I'd rate it a bit lower, but 1.20 gave us bamboo wood, which means not only do you have two different kinds of wood, but one of them is extremely renewable, and in my opinion, looks pretty decent. And, once again, is very renewable. So if you, regardless of how good you are at building, you can get a decently large structure in a limited amount of time. However, where do you put the structure? So, I don't want to fill up the same tier over and over again, but I think Bamboo Jungle is also going to go in B, but above Badlands due to sentimental reasons. Basalt Deltas. Oh boy, I have some controversial takes about this biome because I like it, unlike literally every Minecraft player ever. Because, although it's a horrible place for your base, it's not going above C. It's honestly so eerie and has such a cool vibe, and plus it's actually dangerous, which, like, there are like 3 biomes in this game that are actually dangerous when you have diamond armor. Let's be honest with ourselves. And this is definitely one of them. And I feel like the vibe is so cool that if you are a good terraformer and builder, you could make something really awesome here. However, there's so much lava, so many freaking rocks everywhere, so many magma cubes and other mobs. It's just such a mess in terms of actually surviving here that it's screenshot worthy, yes. However, Okay, actually, I'm gonna go and rename this. Okay, so we've gone ahead and we have renamed our C tier because, honestly, the description it had before kind of felt like it would go above here. So now we have beautiful, great base location, screenshot worthy, flawed but decent looking, in desperate need of an update, or ew no. Basically, these are all the, oh, they're pretty good. This one has some major flaws. This one is technically could go down here, but it's just, Actually, yeah, I never want to base in a Badlands. So, I'm tempted. No, because it's pretty enough to earn its B tier, but it's a lower B tier. Basalt Deltas is a C tier, because if you have ever been there, the flaws are very strong with this one. Beaches are awesome. Beaches are great because not only do they almost always attach somewhere that has, trees and things you need to live to the ocean, which is a very nice resource and often looks really pretty depending on the kind. But yeah, the beach is pretty freaking cool. However, it's almost always small, so it's a great place for a starter base, but if you kind of like an amphibian turning into a reptile, if you want to graduate from your starter base to a bigger base, you either need to go all the way on land or all the way in the water, which is a big flaw because I have not seen a beach biome that was big enough to accommodate an actual mega base, which is not to say the same for many of these other biomes, which usually come at much larger scales. So that's a big problem with it. However, even then, I mean, just having a nice beach view is so good. And getting sand without being in a desert is really helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and put beach in A tier. Next up, we've got the birch forest. Also, I would like to point out that I didn't make these images, so a lot of them are cut off and have like weird troll stuff, like how the deep warm ocean has a troll face, and there are indistinguishable random bits of text on some of these. I didn't make this, so, just keep that in mind. They're not the best quality of images. Birch forest is, The only thing that really gives the birch forest life on its own are bees, and bees also spawn in much better looking biomes. Not only do I not care for birchwood that much, it's not my favorite in the world, not my least favorite, but it's not my favorite in the world, but also just literally having nothing but plain grass with birch trees on top is so unbelievably boring. I'm gonna go and put it in a D tier. Cold ocean. I'm gonna be rating a lot of these oceans a little bit lower than I probably would if I, I guess got to appreciate them, because in all honesty, as much as I feel like they're all superior to the pre 1.13 ocean, there's only one or two ocean biomes that I really like. Like, it kind of just feels like a lot of these are, the same. So I'm unironically going to be rating these four based off of their features in watercolor, which is kind of cheesy considering I'm supposed to be rating them on other reasons, but like, they're all equally good for a base, except for the frozen one. Like, you can put a base in any of them if you're going underwater, and if you're not going underwater, you can put it over literally any body of water, so it doesn't really matter. Cold ocean is one of the bland ones. I feel like literally all of these, yeah, look, cold ocean, the deep ones are always better, in my opinion. Deep cold ocean, let's see. The deep normal ocean, and then the deep lukewarm ocean, and then the deep warm ocean. I would say this one, in terms of making a base, this one I don't think has seaweed, so that kind of makes it suck. So I think we're just gonna go ahead and do, yeah, that seems fine. Yes, I did put them all in the D tier, which makes it a bit cluttered, but they all have essentially the same lack of a... They all basically have the same appeal or lack thereof. They're all very bland, better than 1.12 and before, but still bland ocean biomes. I guess shipwrecks are cool, which is why I put the deep ones ahead, and I like the watercolor for the warm and lukewarm one better. But yeah, and speaking of things that are warm and lukewarm, and speaking of things that are a little bit more than warm, Crimson Forest, that's a biome. This is an instant S tier. Is it the easiest to set up a base in? No, absolutely not. It's literally in the nether. However, I just like it so much. It's so unique. It works so well for being in the nether. It's definitely one of my favorite biomes. However, it's not my favorite biome. It's not even my favorite nether biome. And I think you guys will see why in a couple of minutes when we get to a certain other biome, no spoiler alert intended. But yeah, the wood is fantastic. Having piglins right there, especially if you actually, wear gold armor like a normal person, is so helpful. Just to be able to set up a little trading thing, it's just incredibly helpful. Basically infinite food if you have good armor and weapons, because you can just kill the hoglins with like fire aspect and get a crap ton of free cooked pork and never have to worry about food again, unless you're playing like a modded mod pack where, you have to worry about weird saturation changes and mods. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about vanilla. So yes, Crimson Forest, great biome. Good job, Mojang. Dark Forest. I have never been the biggest proponent of dark oak, but I don't hate it. It's kind of a neutral wood for me. And of course, wood type obviously goes into how livable a forest is. And to me, dark forest is one of the... let's see. If you're trying to build a small base, do not bother. It will look weird. I've tried it. It always looks a bit strange. The reason why being that if your base is small enough, it won't even be as wide as the trees, because the trees are very large. Another thing is, of course, woodland mansions. So if there's a woodland mansion nearby, do not bother. You will have an annoying time. If there is a woodland mansion, then you can raid it, but if there isn't, then it's kind of a forgettable biome with some decent wood, and it's got mushrooms, which is a great food source. It's not one of my personal favorites, but it's definitely better than a lot of the others on this list. However, if you're building a mega base, it's actually quite good, because assuming that you are putting in the time to make a mega base, you probably also are putting in the time to cut down all those annoying big trees, which somehow are no longer the most annoying trees to chop down, but we will get there later. Trust me. The Dark Forest, which is actually the Dark Oak Forest, I don't know why it just says Dark Forest, I'd personally put it into the A tier. Below... because of the mushrooms, I'd personally say... Let's see, because the beach is good for starter bases, but bad for mega bases. The Dark Forest is good for mega bases, bad for starter bases. So assuming that you're going to be on this world for any significant period of time, or you plan on making a large base, it's probably more important that you end up somewhere that works rather than, starting out somewhere that works. And yeah, the beach is pretty nice. So I'm having trouble deciding between these two. However, the beach does allow you to get multiple kinds of wood a lot of times. So I think I'm going to leave beach above Dark Forest. In A tier though, so I'm not shilling Dark Host. No. I'm not trying to throw shade on Dark Oak Forest or anything, it's still pretty good. Deep Dark. This one I'm going to judge differently, because you cannot have a base anywhere near an ancient city. So I'm going to assume that this is not referring to a Deep Dark which contains an ancient city. I may be wrong about how the game works in that regard, because I actually don't know. I'm fairly certain that I've found Deep Dark without an ancient city in it. And if that's actually true and it's not just some kind of glitch, then this is actually probably a pretty cool place to have a base, as long as you really like, being in a cave, which I do not usually like. But It's probably one of the better ones in terms of block coordination, because you have things like cyan terracotta, literally any gray or black block, and a lot of other like greenish blocks would probably work really well down here. And the lack of lighting would probably makes for some really cool bioluminescent or just flat out glowing bases, which you probably wouldn't be able to properly see anywhere else, because it is called the Deep Dark for a reason. It is very dark unless you use Dynamic Lights mod, which I have mixed feelings about, and yet still use myself on most servers if they allow it. But I'm not even gonna bother to talk about that right now. I'm not even gonna bother to talk about that right now. Deep Dark has the major flaw in terms of the fact that it has absolutely zero resources. However, all caves are like that, and caves are unique in their biomes because you can just mine up. So assuming you have a favorable biome above you, this is actually not a horrible place to build a base as long as there's no ancient city. If it's ancient city, it goes into one of the lower tiers immediately in terms of base buildability, because you should never build in an ancient city unless you're like some kind of insane, crazy good Minecrafter, So Deep Dark, I think we're gonna go ahead and put in the B tier. I know it kind of was hyping it up like I was gonna put an A or S. It's really cool, but this is more based on it's pretty and it's a good practical location for a base, and these are also pretty impractical places for a base. And I think the Deep Dark is pretty creative as well, so I'm going to go ahead and put it above Badlands, which is yet another kind of controversial take on my part. I don't apologize, though, because I still like Badlands, because I reasonably like everything in the top 4 tiers. I'm a Minecraft fan. I'm not going to be throwing shade on most things in the game. Ah yes, Deep Frozen Ocean, the one that I said was a bit different, for a bad reason, because this thing sucks. I know, cold biomes can be really cool, I agree. However, the Frozen Ocean biomes are so unbelievably obnoxious to try and build anything on. Yes, of course you can build a base in any biome. However, you kind of should normally decide, am I going to have a land base or am I going to have an ocean base? However, you don't really get to decide that here, because either you try and build on the ice and it'll either melt because you can't use all the blocks because it's cold, or you'll be stuck with a bunch of water you don't want to deal with. Or you want to build an ocean base, and this is just the worst ocean biome to put it in. Either deep or not deep, they're pretty similar. Although the normal frozen ocean, if I recall, this may not actually be correct, but if I can recall properly, I believe that it has more ice coverage. If that's wrong, I don't really care, because I'm still putting them both in the F tier. Pretty sure they were also added in 1.10, which is like the worst Minecraft update. So like, that also gets some points taken off from them. Alright, now desert. Desert's interesting, because on one hand, it's not exactly the greatest idea to build a base here, because there's so little actual food, so many mobs, and there's no trees usually. And also usually no water, which is, a lot of reasons not to live here, not even to mention the fact that there's no grass or dirt, which makes it even harder to live here. However, in terms of actually building the base, not surviving, but in theory, if you had all that stuff, desert is so cool for building sand-related bases. However, I know I just howevered my however, but I'm going to however again, because I feel like it. Desert is also awful, because you're basically expected to use sand. If you don't, it just doesn't look right. Which means I'm more referring to sandstone, and there are a couple different variants of sand and sandstone, but it basically kind of limits you into a certain color palette, which is not exactly great, but it still looks good. If you are specifically looking for a desert-themed build, then obviously the desert's the best for you, and I'd say personally, it's probably the only biome that gets the special rule of, like, people go there specifically to build certain kinds of builds because of real-life history, like Egypt and whatnot. Because of how famous it is, how iconic it is, I feel like I'm going to put it in the C tier above Basalt Delta. Obviously not as creative as Basalt Delta, but it's still really cool. So of course the next biome is sorry. And of course the next biome is Dripstone Caves. Now, obviously I understand that the Dripstone Caves are not really meant to be a very livable looking biome. And upon reveal, we all saw it as exactly that, a not very livable looking biome. And it came out, and it's not a very livable biome. However, it adds dripstone, which means it's essentially not going to exist on multiplayer servers that allow PvP, because dripstone is so popular to beat the crap out of your friends with. So, assuming this is a single player world and this is not already completely griefed, or a world that doesn't, or a world on multiplayer that doesn't allow the kind of shenanigans that would require a bunch of dripstone, it does look cool, and I can imagine some builds and some color palettes that would work quite well here. However, me personally, I don't really feel like it's the kind of place I would want to live, in all honesty. It's just not my favorite. So in that regard, I feel like it's pretty cool looking, but it's not cool enough looking in order to warrant any kind of, base actually being built here. I'd put it, I think it should go in the D tier. However, I think I'm gonna go ahead and put it at the top of the D tier. I was thinking about maybe putting in the C tier, but yeah, I don't know. It's pretty brutal to try and actually live down there. You have absolutely no resources, which is of course a flaw. However, it's not decent enough looking in my opinion, at least from a base building perspective and from just an aesthetic perspective, to make its way into the C tier. Yes. Next up is the End Barrens, End Highlands, End Midlands. I literally forgot that these were even separate biomes. I'm just gonna be real with you. I do not care about any of these End biomes except for the Big Island and the Little Islands. And I'm going to tell you why. Because these three biomes... Now, I don't want to blow your mind or anything, but they're the same freaking thing. Like, no, they're technically not. Different things spawn in different areas. However, consider this. You have a base in the End Barrens. Someone, mysteriously out of nowhere, moves it to the End Highlands or End Midlands. What is your reaction? Nothing, right? Like, you might be like, haha, funny prank. You moved my base to a different part of the End. You won't think anything of it. Now imagine you have you probably won't think anything of it. Now, let's apply that same mindset to the Crimson Forest. You have a base in the Crimson Forest. You have it built specifically for the Crimson Forest. Someone moves it to the frickin' Basalt Delta. You're gonna be a little bit mad because of how incredibly different not only the block palettes are in the mood, but also just the biome in general is. These three are the same freaking thing. And therefore, I would not even put them in this, because on one hand, oh yeah, the End needs an update. In my personal opinion, these should be literally removed from the game and replaced with better End biomes that actually have personality. Maybe merge all of these into like just the End Barrens, like just merge all of them into one End Barrens, and then add some more different islands. Me personally, this one reportedly has this structure, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it in F. And and I'm going to put it above the frozen ocean, though. The end is preferable to the frozen ocean. And Midlands, I don't get what this means. We're just going to go ahead. If I've been playing Minecraft for almost, gosh, like 9 years, I think, wait, hold on. Okay, after some short mental math, I actually have probably been playing for more along the lines of 10 or 11 years, which, by the way, is kind of insane. But yeah, I mean, like, I forgot what I was even saying because of that whole tangent. Eroded Badlands. I don't want to be hot-taking anything, but this is just Badlands, but worse, in all honesty. It does have the upside of, if I look closely, wait, no, that's not... Okay, no, the wooded Badlands has trees. Not much to its benefit, spoiler alert. The eroded Badlands are much less flowy. They're much less easy to traverse. They're much more rigid, and while that can look cool, it's worse for bases. So I'm going to go ahead and put this into the... I'm going to go ahead and put this into the D tier, actually. Yes. Yes, the Flower Forest. I love the Flower Forest. Sure, it's not the most unique thing out there, but it's also the Flower Forest, which is literally a forest of flowers, and like I was saying, there are better biomes that contain both birch and the bees, and this is what I'm talking about. Because the Flower Forest is actually pretty cool. It's pretty barren, it's not my favorite flower-related biome, but it's pretty cool. It does have the flaw of just kind of being a retextured forest, in all honesty, but I mean, does that really matter? That just makes it slightly better than the normal forest. I'm gonna go ahead and put this near the top of the C tier. And with that being said, we're just gonna go ahead and put the normal forest below the Flower Forest. It's obviously a good biome to be in. Well, yeah, it's not very unique, but it is good. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm totally putting these above this, because now that I think about it, I'm gonna go ahead and rearrange the tier list a little bit. Now we have the Flower Forest in B tier, and we have the Badlands in C tier. I think that's a lot more reasonable. So the Frozen Peaks. The Frozen Peaks are a newer biome in 1.18. One of the new mountain biomes. So of course, it should, of course, be pretty cool, right? Yeah, no, it is. I don't know what you expect me to say. It's pretty cool. It has a lot of ice, which is not exactly what I'd consider very nice. That was not meant to be a rhyme, but it just was. The Frozen Peaks, of course, should go ahead and go probably above most of these others. However, there's no resources. However, by no resources, I don't mean no resources. I just mean that there's no trees and no whatever else. And since it's a mountain biome, it often has a little bit of a special advantage to other biomes in the form of having nearby biomes that have trees in them. Unlike desert, which can stretch on for miles and have no trees anywhere. It can even be on its own massive island, which could cause problems to building your base. Now, obviously, you could get really unlucky with world generation, but you can get unlucky with world generation for any biome and have a bad situation happen. So, in my personal opinion, Frozen Peaks is a pretty decent biome. It is flawed, but it's pretty good looking. Next one is Frozen River, and I don't get why this is even a biome. Why are rivers biomes? They're just land features. They're not big enough to be an entire biome. Sure, technically I think that might be a biome in real life, but like, why is it a biome? Also, no, you should not build a base on top of a river that's frozen. If you're gonna build a river base, I guess I've never even heard of anyone doing that. I might do that myself just so I can be the first person to have heard of myself making a base directly on a river, but not a frozen river. Once again, ice is annoying. You cannot do anything properly around it. Try to put a torch in, it'll melt the entire base. No, thank you. It's better than these two, though. It's actually probably better than all of these, in my opinion. It's at least, you know, reasonable and not completely messy. Grove, however. Oh boy, Grove, here we go. This is a good biome. I've not based here yet, which is true for a lot of other biomes on here, including all of the cave biomes, all of the nether biomes, and all of the end biomes, technically, if you don't count that one server I was part of as a younger person. But Grove, of course, I have not based here, so I'm only saying this out of assumption. But the Grove is cool. The Grove has trees. The Grove has mountain resources. It's snowy, so if you want snow, you can go there. It's an actual mountain, so you can go and, you know, live there. However, it's not sharp enough to actually cause problems when it comes to terraforming together a little flat area for a big base. In my personal opinion, as long as you don't get crappy world generation, and as long as I'm not completely wrong about what this biome looks like, because in all honesty, I haven't really gone biome hunting, so a lot of these are just from personal experience, and I haven't seen all of these in the past couple weeks. Grove, however, from my personal memory, is pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in, I can't reach it, I'm gonna have to zoom out, but I'm gonna go and put this one in the S tier. I did zoom out just a little bit since we're getting bigger tiers, specifically the D tier. Oh crap. I did zoom out a little bit, specifically because the D tier has expanded beyond belief, and we need to be able to see everything. Now we've got the Ice Spikes biome, which, it's cool. It's also incredibly old. However, once again, where are you gonna put a base in this thing? Like, I'm not trying to diss all cold biomes. I put a cold biome in S tier and another one in C tier. So that's not what I'm doing here. That's not what I'm doing here. However, the Ice Spikes... The only Ice Spikes biome base I have ever seen was something Green made in an old video explaining some interesting base ideas. And you want to know what he did? He didn't even build his own structure. Green the builder himself didn't even build his own structure. He just stole one of the spikes and turned it into a mini base. And since then, I've seen no people base here. And also, it's not cool enough to justify how annoying it is. However, it has more potential than the F tier ones. It has more potential than the bland and the horrible to live in ones. Because yeah, you have to clear out a lot of ice, but if you have Silk Touch, that's actually pretty profitable. And unlike the ice that is just under your feet and being annoying, this one's to the side, so you can actually build with real light sources. So although it's not my favorite, it's pretty iconic, and I think it should be in the D tier. Jagged Peaks is interesting, because Jagged Peaks is just literally exactly what you would think. It's just mountains. It's just exactly what you imagine with mountains, and that's pretty cool. I don't personally love to base in tall mountain areas, although I've tried before to varying degrees of success. Jagged Peaks, though, is pretty basic. It doesn't have a ton of material, so you have to import them, which is a minus point. But, like, it's pretty cool. It's pretty decent. I like it. It looks great. Definitely screenshot worthy. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one right here in the B tier. Well, above or below Deep Dark? And above or below Flower Forest? I think that I'm going to put it... Flower Forest has a special place in my heart. So I think I'm going to go ahead... Well, Desert also does, for the reason of being the location of my first ever Minecraft base of multiple years. Rest in peace, that world. I screwed up my iPad, and now I don't have it. I wish I could go back in time and tell myself not to install that faulty Bedrock add-on. Wait, was it Bedrock or Pocket Edition? Anyways, who cares? Jagged Peaks is cool. Beats out the normal forest. Flower Forest is too special to me. It's fine in B tier. Normal jungle is just jungle with bamboo, but worse. That is it. That is literally it. I don't know if it even deserves to be in B tier, because the whole reason why Bamboo Jungle is so unbelievably high on this tier, despite being so annoying to work with, is because of the bamboo. With no bamboo, it's just a jungle. And yeah, without bamboo, it's just a jungle. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and put this I know it's a stark divide, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this here. Because although it has good resources, it's just not my thing. It's just so monotone and uniform, but it has a much superior counterpart as well. Which, you know, it's pretty monotone. It's not as interesting as the Bamboo Jungle, and its Bamboo Jungle counterpart is infinitely superior because of just having bamboo and pandas, which I'm like 99% sure that Jungle does not have. Now for the Lukewarm Ocean. Lukewarm Ocean was left off because it just was lower on the list. I honestly could not tell you why. Oh, wait. Oh, I get it. This is mostly sorted in ABC order, which is funny because Cherry Grove is the last one. I'm getting kind of off topic. Lukewarm is just worse deep lukewarm, because deep is always better because you have more room to build an underwater base, or you have a cooler view. With one exception, and we'll get to that later. Lush Caves is so cool. It's actually a decent livable place underground to put a base, which sounds like, what are you talking about? There's no trees. Kind of. There's kind of no trees. It emits natural light, which means, as far as I'm aware, don't get on to me if I'm wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure you can grow crops, which means that I think you can also grow trees in the larger areas. I think that's true about most places that you light up, but this one can just be left to its own because of how bright it is. Be sure to comment below if I'm actually wrong about that and you cannot grow trees underground at all or something along those lines. I swear you can or could. And in that case, of course, assuming that you're just using the trees that are already there, the azalea saplings, which, once again, I swear I need to learn more about this game. I've played way too much of it to be this dumb about so many of the things about it. I swear they turn into azalea trees, right? I'm not being gaslit by my own brain, right? And in that case, they can turn into actual trees, which can be replanted, and therefore you have wood, and you have this cool biome underground. So I'm going to go ahead and say it's not S tier. By no means. But it is... the beach is good, though. It's in A tier. It is in A tier. I don't know. I don't think it's better than the beach, though. Because the beach is so opening and freeing. You can have all the resources you desire from the area around it, while still having not only the ocean, but a decent place to put a little starter base. And then eventually, you know, a big mega base. And in all honesty, you can have a pretty decent water mega base if you do choose to make one here. Whereas I did say I was going to put Dark Oak Forest above, then I changed my mind because it's honestly hard to make anything here. It's hard to make anything in any area where you have to chop down lots of trees, so it has to be really worth it, like with the Crimson Forest. At least in my opinion. Mangrove Swamp. This is the biome that broke my heart, because when it was announced, I was so excited, because not only did I like the way it looks so much, I don't know, it just kind of spoke to me. It was so cool looking to me when they announced that Minecraft Live, and then the trees were terrible. I don't hate the wood type, not my favorite, especially not with the bark on, but oh my gosh, they're just evil to actually try and remove or chop down. It's impossible, not to mention the fact that it's a lot more in the water than I actually originally thought they were going to do. For some reason, I kind of assumed it would be a lot more mud and a lot less water, which would have made it a lot easier to build things. But alas, it did not work out. It looks cool, in my opinion. In my personal opinion. It is all my opinion. You don't have to be mad at me because I put your favorite biome somewhere that you shouldn't have. I don't need to apologize, and you don't need to get mad because this is just my personal opinion. If you have disagreements with me, don't be toxic about it. If you want to share your disagreements with me, I'd love to hear it in the comments. However, I'm just gonna go ahead and put Mangrove Swamp into the... Oh, this is a tough choice. Either B or C tier, because while it's not a good place for a base unless you have some kind of specialized base in mind, which by the way is not what I'm going for here. You can have bases that cater to the biome and it'll work fine. I'm more referring to biomes that cater to your ability to build a base. Hence why everything with no trees, even if it looks really cool, is nowhere above B tier. And this one is the opposite. It has too many trees. It's too hard to chop down. You're gonna have to take twice as long to get rid of those stupid little roots, which have to be mined by a hoe and don't automatically degenerate. Please make them degenerate in the next update. But I think it's better than all of these, at least from an aesthetic standpoint. It's better than the original Swamp 2, which, oh wait, hold on, I have not judged that one yet, so I may have just spoiled it a little. It doesn't really matter, because the next one is the Holy Grail Meadows. In case you didn't know, I released a hardcore video about a week or two ago, a week and a half more like, and of course I died in it. That's why the title wasn't episode 1, because I just died and I was like, I'll just release it anyway. I've tried a couple more times and I keep dying in the stupidest ways, and therefore all progress towards that series has been halted because I need to get a little bit better at not dying first. There's a reason why I was, well, not really a laughingstock because I was better than half the players on there, but there was a reason why I got laughed at a lot on a certain SMP, because I have a problem with dying a lot. And you want to know the perfect place to not die? The meadow. Also, it's freaking beautiful, and almost always you'll find it with beautiful mountains surrounding it. It's got beautiful flowers. I love flowers. It's almost always actually fairly smooth, which makes it great for building bases. It's got bees, which is just its own +1 point, because bees are so good and so cool. It often has a very large variety of animals, which is really helpful. Like, having a base in a place that has all the different animals is so helpful. It has horses, it has donkeys, I believe, it has bees, it has cows, chickens, pigs, and sheep. And sometimes I'm pretty sure you can even find villages in there, because I think it registers it as plains. I may be wrong about that though, because I haven't technically found a meadows biome with a village in it. So in that case, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I'm just misremembering, so you should disregard the last part. I don't think there are villages in there, but even without that, you have virtually everything you could possibly need in this area. That's like the recipe for a great biome, not to mention the frickin' view. I tried to make a vanilla Let's Play until I realized how badly vanilla Minecraft actually runs, And so, of course, since I was doing it as snapshot and I couldn't backport, it kind of killed that series before I even released the first episode, once again. But I did base, or build a base partially, in the meadows. And the view, I don't know if, I don't have any footage of it anymore. It's all in the cloud and I don't want to download it. Well, no, I'm not going to say all that. The meadow is where I decided to build my base on that brief stint of an attempted series. And although I didn't finish building the base, nor did I think the base looked very good. Jeez, that was awful. It was not my proudest building moment. But the meadows, even in that, they still looked so cool. And I know that this is going to be like, oh, but you put the flower forest down there. But yeah, no. Yeah, it's just better. I don't care. It's got enough trees to actually give you trees without not having trees, but it also has little enough trees that you can have a good base without having to chop down a bunch. It's a good balance between literally everything in the game. In my opinion, it's the best biome in the game. Spoiler alert. Mushroom Field. That is, I refuse to call it Mushroom Field. It's Mushroom Island. I'm sorry, Mojang. Change it now. Just kidding, that sounded so hostile. But seriously, Mushroom Islands, also known as Mushroom Fields, they suck. But they're so cool, but they suck so much. You see... you see why... Ow. You see, while you might be thinking, oh, there's no hostile mobs, that's actually pretty cool. It means there are no hostile mobs. Which, I don't know if you know this, but that's honestly really not a good thing for you. Because yeah, it's nice. You're gonna have your base, you're gonna not have hostile mobs. You wanna know what's not gonna give you? Any hostile mob drops, unless you just so happen to have a not flooded cave underneath. However, Moo Blooms, excuse me, sorry, some mob vote PTSD got on the brain, but some mushrooms, they're cool. I mean, I don't think that's enough to really redeem it, because you could always just go find a mushroom and bring it to your regular, non-dysfunctional biome base. But I mean, like, it's cool, it's interesting, it's just not anywhere I would ever consider putting a base that is not explicitly mushroom themed, and even then, I would probably rather put it in the dark forest or somewhere with trees, because ironically enough, mushrooms fit better under trees, so it doesn't make much sense to even, exist. I just think it's novel, but it's weird, and it does not work for a base unless it's, once again, specifically themed around that base, which is the whole point. This is to judge the opposite. That was a mouthful. I hope you understood what I just said there. If not, just know that this goes into D tier, which is going to cause a riot. It's going above Dripstone Caves, though, because it's really unique, and I do like the concept. I just really wish they would change the color of mycelium, especially to match the mushrooms. And also, I just don't want a base there, ever. Alright, Nether Wastes. Ah yes, the classic Nether biome. I mean, it's the Nether. It's the regular Nether. That's all I have to say about it. You know what that's like. It's gonna go in... I don't feel right putting in the F tier, especially with all these land-ocean things going on. I'm gonna go ahead and put it we're gonna go ahead and put it below the lukewarm ocean in the D tier. There's a lot of D tier stuff because there are a lot of D tier biomes. Normal ocean. Once again, why are there so many? We just needed cool ones, not 10 million random ones that are identical in almost every way. This one is not cold or warm, which means it doesn't get the benefit of having, like, any form of, dolphins or coral or anything else of the sort, while also not being deep. So this is probably, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put it right here. At least it has shipwrecks and seaweed. Wait, does it have seaweed? I don't know if it does. You know, I like the watercolor of this better anyways. Old growth birch forest. This is a better birch forest. This one has flowers, it has taller trees, which honestly looks so much better. It's still not my favorite place to be because birch is just not my favorite wood type, nor is it my favorite tree. But I mean, it looks it looks respectable. I can handle it. It looks pretty nice. Also, we're gonna zoom out again because once again, I can't see the whole tier list. Old growth birch forest is better than regular birch forest. We're gonna go ahead and put it in the B tier above normal forest. Old growth pine taiga. What is that? I didn't even know that there was more than one of these. There's old growth spruce taiga and old growth pine taiga, and I genuinely thought these were the same thing until just now. So that should tell you what I think of them, because I don't know if I've told people this. I have a very unpopular opinion when it comes to spruce wood. I don't know what it is about it. I know people can make it look good in certain builds. I don't like it. I'm sorry. I know it's like the builder's wood, but I just don't like it. I think it looks too mediocre and bland. It's a great thing when combined with other woods, but when you're trying to use it as a primary block, I think you have to just basically be green in order to make it actually look great. It does look good, but it's not great, in my opinion. In my personal opinion, it's not bad, but I don't like using it personally because it works best in taiga, and I don't want to be in a taiga. I do not like basing there. From an objective standpoint, it's actually not the worst place to build a base because the trees, while big, are pretty tall. They're not the worst to cut down. You can do that little spiral staircase thing that you can do in the dark forest, and it gives you a lot of wood to actually build with, but it's also a lot of times turbulent in its a lot of times its altitude is more turbulent, and so I keep talking about these as if they're just one biome again. I keep forgetting they're two separate biomes somehow, which doesn't even make any sense. I'm just gonna say the ones on the right, the trees on the right, look better. So I'm going to go ahead. so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put them in to. Let's see. I don't know exactly where I should put them. I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna split this. This one, no. I'm sorry. These are so mediocre. They're going above these random oceans, but yeah, that's about it. I don't like it very much. I'm gonna be real with you. It's not my favorite base type. Excuse me, it's not my favorite biome. It's kind of generic. It's cool looking to some extent, but it gets old. Ah yes, the classic plains. Literally an instant A tier. It is the default of Minecraft for a reason. You can't get much better than that for a nice first time playing Minecraft base. Unless you're me and you decide to spend your life in a desert. But of course, I'm really weird. So of course, plains is the normal choice. It's pretty basic, but it has basically everything you could possibly ever need, once again, but unlike the meadows, it's just less cool, and usually does not have the best views. So of course it's A tier instead of S tier. And of course Grove is obviously also up there because it's got a lot of cool stuff. It's a nice snowy biome, my favorite snowy biome in the game, unless I'm forgetting something. But it's also got some pretty views. And then Crimson Forest is up here. it's not practical, but it's just really cool. You know what, actually, in terms of base practicality, I think it actually should go down to A tier. I know that leaves only 2 things in S tier, but we'll have more S tier things. Don't worry. It's pretty cool looking. I think it looks fantastic. You know what, actually? No, it's S tier. It just goes below Grove. I think that's more fair, because it's definitely fantastic. Put a base, it's a little bit more work, because literally, what are you supposed to break? Those non-degenerating warp. Literally, what are you supposed to break? The mushroom caps? What are you supposed to break the warped mushroom blocks with? They don't degenerate on their own. It's a bit annoying. But like otherwise, yeah, it's a pretty nice place. I was supposed to be judging Plains, and I switched to Crimson Forest. Plains is Plains. You know how this game works. You know what Plains are. They're good. River is interesting because why is it a biome? Once again, why is it its own biome? It should not be its own biome. It should just be a feature of the generation of the world. But here we are. But of course, here we are. We have River as its own biome. And spoiler alert, it's better than Frozen River. It desperately needs an update, also known as not being a biome anymore and just being a part of the world that can generate anywhere in the world instead of just, you know, in specific areas, because that's not how rivers work. They can run through any biome, but no, because this game is silly. Anyways, rivers are cool, but they're only cool if they actually have things around them. Like, who in the world actually builds a base entirely in a river? No one. However, Frozen River sucks. This river sucks a little less because it's an actual functional river and not just a swath of ice in the middle of a snowy biome. So, while I don't think it's going to beat out these two, specifically just because, no, actually, it's going to beat out that one because of height. I think personally, as long as I'm assuming you're building partially in the river, because why would you build a base small enough to actually fit in a river biome? Just build in the ocean and build a bigger base, but that's just my opinion. It's not as good as this one because of depth. It's better than this one because of depth. This one is, you know, ridiculous to build in because it's a river, but this one is ridiculous to build in because you could just find one of these if you really wanted to. It's usually bordering, so there's literally no reason to ever base in this biome unless there's a specific thing you want to be near. Whereas river, you can kind of just base by it and have a you can usually kind of just base next to it and have a cool little river running through your backyard, and that's pretty sweet. As a biome on its own, it's pretty bland though. Savannah Plateau. Savannah's not my favorite biome ever. Savannah Plateau though is actually pretty cool. It's literally just what the entire Savannah biome should be. We don't need to have entirely realistic biomes if they're boring, which, spoiler alert, Savannah's so boring, I made an entire video explaining why we needed to make it less boring by voting the armadillo, which I'm not sure if I regret yet. Please do not be a repeat of the past couple mobs. Please be worth it. Let us enchant the dog armor at least. Please let it actually interact with the world in any meaningful way. Savannah's pretty cool. Savannah Plateau's cooler. Savannah needs an update, but I'd personally say, yeah, that's pretty fair. And then Savannah Plateau, actually, I'm going to move this below Dripstone Caves. I think Dripstone Caves is more unique and more interesting. Excuse me, it's not more unique, but it is more interesting and actually, wait, hold on. Let me think about it. No, I'm kidding. Mushrooms exist. Savannah Plateau, I'm going to go ahead and put above the Basalt Delta, but that's pretty much it. It's pretty decent, pretty cool. Like, it's fine. Actually, now that I think about it, though, you could make some pretty cool African-style bases there. Please don't take that out of context. I mean, like, the Lion King. Don't take that out of context, please. Savannah Plateau, I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the B tier. I'm locking it in. Small End Islands, why is this a biome? Why do you make us suffer by having this biome exist? No. No. No, no, no. I don't even want to put it below Frozen Ocean because I don't want to lose my dignity, but it's the worst out of all of these end biomes. Snowy Beach. On one hand, Minecraft Alpha. On the other hand, actual practicality. For one, normal snowy biomes have this thing called grass, and if you dig up the snow, you can actually, live. Snowy Beach. I mean, it's just not my favorite. I don't like the look of snow on top of sand, especially since, as far as I'm aware, I've never seen that in my entire life, and as someone from Florida, I feel like that just goes against everything that is coded into my body. Like, sand and snow are enemies. That's why we want to kick out all the northerners. Snowy Beach, of course, is going to go into the C tier though, because it's still better than like all of these. And it's actually fine to build a base as long as you, get the resources that are inevitably next to you, hopefully, because it's a beach. Unless you spawn next to ice spikes or something, and then you're just dead. Snowy Plains, Snowy Slopes, Snowy Taiga. 3 snowies in a rowy. Snowy Plains is just a normal plains biome, but with snow on it, which is like, fine. Really bland. It's got trees, it's got what you need. However, strays are awful, so it does not get the same plains advantage of being beginner friendly. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the B tier. However, I'm gonna put it, I'm gonna go ahead and put this from a base standpoint. How about there? No, I mean, it's a pretty good place if you want to have a snowy base that isn't on a mountain, though. So, I think maybe... yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put it there. That seems right. Snowy Slopes, however, is the complete opposite. It's incredibly mountainous and incredibly snowy. It's even snowier than Jagged Peaks, and in my opinion, I like it a little bit more. Maybe that's just a me thing, though. Also, why does that portal exist in the image? Why is there a ruined portal? That is a terrible example of what the biome looks like. Half of it is netherrack. But anyways, Snowy Slopes is a pretty good biome. To build in, once again, I'm not the hugest fan of putting my stuff directly on mountains. But I mean, it's the best out of all of the mountain ones that aren't the Grove or the Meadow, which are kind of barely even mountains. Oh yeah, and the ones that are not being judged yet, that we'll get to later. Snowy Slopes, I'm just gonna go and put it right there. Nice little snowy gallery right next to each other. Snowy Taiga is once again a taiga. However, it's a taiga with snow, which means you can see the glorious white snow fox, which essentially means that it's perfect. No, just kidding. It's not perfect. It's still a taiga, but out of all the taigas, it's definitely the best. Not for any practical reasons. I'm completely breaking character here. I just like the white foxes. If I find out you can find them in any other biome, I'm moving this down, but this is going in the B tier. Soul Sand Valley is so cool. Never build a base there unless you're just a flat-out good member of the Minecraft community who can build and do cool stuff and do PvP and is just, in general, like, a boss at everything. Because this thing is ridiculously hard to survive in. Well, not really, but it's just annoying because of the soul sand, and there's skeletons, And there's ghasts. And there's soul sand. And there's still lava, and there's fire, and it's just the nether in general. It looks really cool, though. So if you wanted to, you could totally do it. I don't suggest it because it looks so unbelievably dead that you would have to theme your base around it, which once again, not exactly what I'm looking for here. I'm looking for places that can host a variety of bases and look good and work. This one does not do that. It's part of the nether, and it's just really inhospitable. But it's cool looking, so we're gonna go ahead and put this one, we're gonna put it here. Yeah, I feel like that's fair. Sparse jungle. That's a weird one, because that is just essentially like the forest biome, but with jungle trees, which means it has parrots. I don't think that's enough to make it better than oak, because jungle may be a good wood type, but it's not better than oak. We're putting it in the B tier, right below the normal forest. Actually, I like the foxes. Stony Peaks. If that image says anything to you, it's, that's gonna be hard to build in, but that is gonna be so cool. However, we're not judging them based on just your ability to build in them. And Stony Peaks are some of the actual coolest things ever added to Minecraft. It's so hard to build in them unless you build into the side of them because, or if you terraform, but I'm just terrible at that right now. I have to learn how to do that or something sometime. Stony Peaks are cool. The Stony Peaks are really cool. That's all I have to say. I'm putting them into the B tier with a lot of other mountain biomes, I'm realizing. Except I'm actually gonna go ahead and put them, yeah, I'm gonna put them there. I don't know if that's exactly accurate, but you know what? They're cool enough that I feel like we can judge by proximity, I guess. Because, like, you're either building in them and then you'll have a cool mountainside base, or you're building near them and you'll have a really cool view. And in my opinion, they have the best view out of most of the mountain biomes. Stony Shore. Stony Shore, Stony Shore. Why does this exist? Yes, I get variety. However, the one chance it had to have anything special was something that shouldn't have even been there, because penguins should live in the cold and give cold biomes more variety. If you want to make a Stony Shore mob, make a Stony Shore mob. But regardless of the mob vote, prior to that, even then, Stony Shore, pretty bland. You can build there. It has a lot of open space, so it's not going in the F tier. But it's just bland. It's so bland. I'm gonna go ahead and put this right here. You know what? Actually, I'm kind of arbitrarily judging all of these ocean biomes because, in case you didn't notice, I could not care less. Half of them are identical. They're interesting, but, like, not that interesting. Swamp. Once again, I've already said mangrove swamp is better than normal swamp, and I stand by that despite the fact that my base in my most recent finished Minecraft series was literally partially in a swamp, but to be fair, it was also partially in, like, 9 other biomes. That frickin' seed was crazy! Okay, but seriously, swamp, I'm gonna go ahead, and I think it's still better than all of these. Swamps are pretty reliable. You can make some cool bases there. A lot of water, but a lot of the time you'll find a good area with no water, or little water, or you can just make a waterside swamp thing. And that's pretty cool too. As you can tell, I'm pretty hyped to be closing into the end. Speaking of the end, I mean, I just had to make that segue. I know it's not technically next, but I don't really want to talk about Taiga for the 5th time. So, end. Once again, you can't live there. Let's be honest. If you're gonna live in the end, you might as well live on one of these. Like, maybe that if you want to be goofy. If you want to build in the void, like an absolute madman, then go ahead, but why would you do it near the main end island? What if someone respawns the Ender Dragon? What if you respawn the Ender Dragon? It's just virtually impossible to guarantee anything's safety here, so it's basically completely and utterly impossible in every way to actually, you know, prevent griefing, which is not something you want to happen to your precious base. Also, respawn anchors and beds do not work in the end, which means don't live there. Trust me. I tried to use the respawn anchor in the end. Didn't go well for me. But emotional moments aside, it's still better than, the Highlands are the ones with the most terrain variation, right? I may be wrong about that, but I'm fairly certain these are the better ones. So I would say it's there. It's still in the F tier because the end is an awful place. It's got some interesting things like looting it and then leaving, and Chorus Fruit, which is the best thing ever, and the Elytra, which should never have been added to the game. I mean, what? Sorry, I went into a little bit of a rampage moment there. I apologize to all SMB creators ever. The Elytra's fine. They just shouldn't have done the fireworks thing. That was too far. Now everything else is useless. Taiga, normal Taiga. Why are there so many Taiga? Why don't they just prune, like, a lot of these categories, and then just, like, make it more varied, so that you could see more? Like, surely we don't need, like, 9 different kinds of Taiga, right? But regardless, we do. So, Taiga is, I mean, the shorter trees don't do anything to help, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it below the other Taiga, because it's probably the least interesting. The Void! I mean, like, it's the Void. What are you supposed to do? Wait, no. Sorry, I almost did a crime. There we go, now we're righted. Even the Void is better than Frozen Ocean. Warm Ocean, finally! The best ocean in the game! Wait a minute, hold on, wait. Deep Warm Ocean? I swear that doesn't exist. Am I crazy? I'm gonna assume that I'm not crazy, and that this either doesn't exist, or it does not have coral reefs in it. Because if it does, then put this where I put this, but higher up. Warm Ocean is cool because it's coral reefs, and we all love coral reefs. I mean, the Warp Forest is just cool. It's very creative. It's like the Crimson Forest, but it's blue. And that's a very unique, different change. And in the Nether Update trailer, or rather the reveal, the trailer came later, but it was just so cool to see. It was so shocking. And, I mean, it was cool. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. It was really cool. Now for the Windswept Forest, Windswept Gravelly Hills, Windswept Mountains, Windswept Savannah. Why are there 4 biomes with the same adjective? Windswept. Gosh, I barely know anything about any of these. I know Windswept Savannah. I don't think I've seen these in a long time. I didn't even know they still had the Windswept Mountains in the game. Well, let's start with Windswept Savannah, because that's a cool place. That's a cool place. I would personally say it's definitely deserving of a high ranking, just because of how unique it is. So I think it's going in the A tier. It's so cool looking. However, the other Windswept biomes, I can't say the same about, because I don't even recognize them. Like, I've probably traveled to them, considering that I know that I've gotten the adventuring time. I know that I've gotten the adventuring time advancement in one of my worlds. Actually, more than one of my worlds. So I know I've been to most of these. At least the ones that were available before 1.17. But Windswept Forest, I don't recognize them. They blend together. Gravelly Hills does not sound very nice. And also, gravel is just not a good thing to build your base on. unless you have some kind of really good plan for how to make it look good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say, F tier. Yeah, I'm gonna put F tier for this one. It's better than all the other F tiers. But I don't really feel like expanding the D tier more. We need some variety in tiers. Windswept Forests and Windswept Mountains. Windswept Mountains seems like the worst thing you could choose for mountains. Like, you're either gonna be in the mountains with the jagged or stony peaks, just like right into it. Guess you're gonna have a hard time, but it's gonna look awesome when you're done with it. Or you have the more tolerable snowy slopes or grove. And I mean, like, those are pretty cool, I would personally say. And they're pretty, not super beginner friendly because of their altitude, but they're much better to build in, and they also look cool. But then, like, this one, it's a mountain, so fall damage is imminent, but it's also not that cool. Like, unless this is a horrible screenshot and I'm just not remembering something, and it actually looks fantastic based on this screenshot, since once again I don't even remember this one, I'm gonna put an F tier as well. But I'm gonna put it above this. So at the very least, you know what, actually no, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the D tier. I know I said I wouldn't do any more. No, actually, just kidding. I'm putting it in the F tier. I don't care. Oh no, I'm conflicted. I'm really conflicted. I think it does deserve to be in the D tier. Locking it in. And then Windswept Forest, I will be putting in the D tier as well. Well, actually, I mean, it's not the best looking thing ever, but it has potential. Still putting in the D tier, once again, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it a little bit higher up. Yeah, wait, yeah, I mean, that's fine. And then, of course, Wooded Badlands. Oh boy, the leaf color in the Badlands. This could have been so cool. You could have orange fall trees. But no, you had to make it brown. Brown trees. The one thing that could have made the Badlands a fantastic place to base is ruined by the fact that your entire biome can be filled with ugly brown trees. And they're also oak, which is not a good biome-specific wood for the Badlands. It doesn't work. It just, no. I'm sorry to those who like it, because I know there are people who do. Same with every biome, but I've literally met multiple people who say it's one of their favorites, which is weird, but you know, you can have opinions. I think it's worse than the normal Badlands. It's not technically worse, it's better to stumble across. And if it connects to a normal Badlands, well, you're in luck. You can have a nice way to access resources. Once again, this is not based on what view you'll have. This is based on how good the actual biome is on its own. So assuming you have a whole world just made up of this biome, with the exception of beach, because that does not work, obviously, and the cave ones and nether ones and whatnot. Assuming that it's just all wooden Badlands and not going to look very cool. Yeah, you'll be able to actually live because there's wood outside of mineshafts, but at what cost? So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this one. I'm gonna put it at the bottom of the C tier. No, it's not decent looking. You know what? I'm moving the Mushroom Island to C tier. That seems fair. And finally, after all this time, the final biome, the Cherry Grove, oh boy, they hit hard with 1.20. I know people are like, oh, but it's not that big of an update. So, why does everyone need there to be such massive updates to a game? Why can't we just play the video game without having it bloat in size every year? Like, yeah, I like having big features, but like, it's fine just to get little features like this. I liked 1.20. A lot of people like 1.20. Don't dog on the developers for putting in a smaller update. That's what used to happen back in the old days. we don't really need those big updates anymore. Even if we didn't get an update for 5 years, the game would survive. It's the best-selling video game in history. And me personally, I think that 1.20 adding the Cherry Grove, yeah, it's really cool. Anyways, if you guys like my tier list, or even if you absolutely despise it, be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Be sure to just let me know your opinions. Maybe this will inspire some other people to make some biome-related tier lists. In all honesty, I only made this video because I died in the aforementioned attempt at an actual hardcore series, and I need to get weekly content out. And also because I thought this would be fun. Maybe I'll do some more tier lists, but I won't become a tier list channel, don't worry. And me personally, I like doing Let's Plays and other Minecraft videos, but tier lists might join the ranks if enough people give this video likes. Actually, I'll set a like goal. If this video gets 40 likes, I will do another similar tier list video. But anyways, that's all for now. I hope y'all have a great day. I will catch y'all later.